What they do, this your boy, the dope black lawyer, aka Josh Jones, and this is Law and Hip Hop. So before we get into it, I do want to let you know we're going to be bringing back a story that had a lot of traction, a lot of people talking about it, upset about it. In early January, dealing with Tyre Nichols, the young man who was killed by the 5 police officers in Memphis. There's an update to that story that you're going to want to stick around for. But before we get into that and any of the other stories, I just want to let you know that you are here. This is Law and Hip Hop. Like I said before, this is the number one place for you to get legal news and information that impacts black people and black culture from a black lawyer who's from the culture. So we're not dealing with lawyers who are culture vultures, and you don't have to be white to be a culture vulture. You could be black but not really doing anything for black people. You don't hire black people. You don't support black causes. You don't do things that impact our community in a positive way. You too are a culture vulture and not a dope black lawyer. So just to say that, each week we're going to come here. We're going to talk about some of the top stories that are in the news, or recap on some stories that were previously in the news if there are any updates. And we're going to make sure that people have the information that they need in order to protect themselves if they ever have a situation where they need a lawyer or anything like that. So welcome to Law and Hip Hop one more time. So before we go too far, type in the chat if you're new or if you are an OG. Let us know. Type in as well if you're watching live or watching on the replay. And rep where you from. So I'm down here in Miami, 305, and this is the place where everybody likes to come to play. It's been a little bit rainy the past 3 or 4 days, but the weather, I just came in from outside, is starting to be sunny again, and it's about to be back popping. I don't encourage you to come right now because we have a racist governor who's doing things that are impacting black people in a negative way, and until we kind of get some kind of understanding, we don't want to support the state with any tourism dollars. So don't come here now. It's a dope place. I know most of you probably already been here, but for now, let's hold off and let's go some other places. Maybe hit some other countries in the Caribbean or go to Africa or something like that. So first story we're going to get into today. So Taylor Swift and her boyfriend broke. No, I'm just playing. We're not going to talk about Taylor Swift on Law and Hip Hop. That wouldn't even make sense, right? But I did see a headline when I was doing research for today that she broke up with her boyfriend. If you're like me, you don't even know one Taylor Swift song. I just know that supposedly she's like the white Beyonce or something like that. But anyway, let's get into the real stories. Another story, it's a little bit older, but there's an update. The young lady who went to Mexico with her friends, Shanqella Robinson, the U.S. Department of Justice has decided that charges will not be brought by them. So they've taken a lot of things into consideration, and they said that they don't have the information that they need, the evidence that they need to be able to prove what they need to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, which is the standard for being successful in a criminal prosecution. So that's like the highest standard. The prosecution has the burden of proving beyond almost any doubt that the person who they're accusing of the crime committed that crime, and they say they don't believe that they can do that. So Mexico has also been trying to get the people who they think are responsible for Shanquella's death extradited back to the United States. Back to Mexico from the United States. We'll see what happens with regard to that, but we do know that they will not be prosecuted, at least for now, by the United States. And but hopefully something can happen and she can get some justice. The article we were reading was talking about another young lady who something similar happened to in Chicago about 5 or 6 years ago, where she was found in a hotel in a refrigerator, and they suspected foul play, but again, they didn't bring any charges in that case. That young lady was Kanika Jenkins, back in Chicago in 2017. So the Department of Justice released a statement, and I'll just kind of show you the statement real quick. We could kind of go over it a little bit. what's the Department of Justice working with today? So it came out on yesterday. Federal officials with the U.S. Attorney's Office met with the family of Shanqella Robinson to offer their condolences and to present the findings of their investigation. The investigation into the circumstances surrounding the death of Ms. Robinson has been a priority for federal prosecutors and the FBI. Worked diligently to conduct a detailed and thorough investigation of the evidence available in this case. In coordination with Ms. Robinson's family, an autopsy was conducted in the United States by the Medical Examiner's Office in Mecklenburg County, which is Charlotte. As in every case under consideration for federal prosecution, the government must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that a federal crime was committed based on the results of the autopsy and after a careful deliberation and review of the investigative materials by both the U.S. Attorney's Office. Federal prosecutors informed Ms. Robinson's family today that the available evidence does not support federal prosecution. So her death has been incredibly difficult for her family and the community. As a matter of policy, federal officials generally do not issue public statements concerning the status of an investigation. However, given the circumstances of Ms. Robinson's death and the public concern around this investigation, it is important to reassure the public that the experienced federal agents and seasoned prosecutors extensively reviewed the available evidence and have concluded that federal charges cannot be pursued. As in any case, the government is prepared to review and examine new information related to the investigation should it become available. So, because this was such a high-profile case, they took the extra steps that would be needed in order to even determine if they thought they had a case that they could prove, and they didn't just sweep it under the rug. So it's a sad case for Ms. Robinson's family. It's sad for Ms. Robinson that she lost her life on a trip with people who she thought were friends, and it's just something for us to consider when we take trips. To make sure that we know the people who we're with and make sure that the people who we love back home know where we're going to be and what we're going to be doing. And if they do get convicted of this in Mexico, that's going to be way worse than federal prison in the U.S. So justice is not denied yet. It could just be delayed. And hopefully for Ms. Robinson and her family, that's the case. So the next story that we're going to be talking about today, after talking about Shanqella Robinson, is similar to a story we covered last week, where last week there was a lawsuit filed against I can't remember, Glorilla, the rapper from Memphis, Glorilla. I don't really listen to these new rappers that much, but I try to keep up with it just a little bit. The music is sometimes it's cool, but for the most part, I'm trapped in the 90s. But Glorilla, she had a concert and there was a stampede. Similarly, there was a similar type of thing that happened last year at the Lovers and Friends Festival in Las Vegas, and a lawsuit was filed. 3 people claimed that they were injured at the Lovers and Friends Festival, and they hired a law firm. The law firm filed a lawsuit in California. And it's kind of interesting because it happened in Nevada. So I actually have the complaint that the law firm filed. I'm going to show it to you. We're going to kind of talk through it a little bit just so we can learn a little bit about how this works. So I'm sharing my screen, and there we go. So it was filed by this law firm, Thomas Sumis, David Marabi, Michael Domingo at Culver City Legal. Based on those names, it does not sound like they are dope black lawyers. And their clients were Carla Thomas. When I first saw that, and I was reading about Lovers and Friends with the old school hip hop, I was like, dang, Carl Thomas got stomped out at a concert, but it's Carla Thomas. So James Thomas and Aaliyah Aguilar. So they're suing Live Nation, NPB Companies, CrowdRx, Phil Ruffin, Frontgate Ticketing Solutions, and then they have 1 to 100 Does, John Doe, Jane Doe, and that would be the people who actually stomped out the people in the stampede. So if you don't know the names of the people, you just kind of list them as John Doe, Jane Doe, and if you ever get that information, you can add them as actual defendants later. So through this law firm, the three plaintiffs are suing all the defendants. The introduction is kind of just giving you an idea of what happened. So May 14th, they were at a Las Vegas festival, and they were attending a concert called Lovers and Friends, and their event tickets placed them in an area in the premises with no seats, and attendees were required to stand shoulder to shoulder for the duration of the event. So it sounds like they were not VIP. As a result of the negligence of the defendants, a sea of attendees to the festival surged towards the plaintiffs. So at the time when this happened, Carl and Aaliyah were sitting on the concrete to relax, which they say a lot of people were doing at that time in between the acts. And the surging crowd pushed, shoved, knocked down, dragged, and trampled the plaintiffs. As a result, they suffered serious injuries. So this is kind of the common language that you would see in any lawsuit that's filed. You have to use these magic words and you have to state these things in this way. So jurisdiction and venue, they're explaining why this lawsuit can be brought in California. So basically, Live Nation has an office in California and does business there. And based on the law in California, they can bring their lawsuit there. And they would probably want to do that. So when you have different options, you're looking for the place that's going to be the most friendly towards plaintiffs, because there's different laws in different states. Recently in Florida, the governor changed, and the law was changed. The governor was hell-bent on changing it, and the state and House, they passed a law that he was interested in passing that's very insurance-friendly. So it could be a similar thing. Maybe in Nevada, it would be harder to, get the result that they want to get for their clients. So then, again, they list the parties, first the plaintiffs, then the defendants, and where they are, and what they had a duty to do. So, for instance, they talk about Live Nation had a duty to implement and execute a security plan to keep everyone attending, visiting, and/or doing business safe, and a duty to safeguard the premises and provide adequate security to prevent violent incidents from taking place. So pretty much anytime you go anywhere and you're spending money or you're invited or whatever the case, wherever you're at has a duty to make sure that you remain safe, that they do everything that they can to make sure that you remain safe. And if they don't do that, if you can show that they didn't do it or they should have maybe done a better job of it, then you can be successful in a lawsuit against them for whatever injuries you get based on their negligence or inadequate security or whatever the case may be. Okay, so it's a kind of long. So they talk about the other defendants, the Does 1 through 100. They don't have the names. They go into more details about the facts, and they brought a cause of action against each defendant for negligence, stating that they had a duty to use reasonable care, which we kind of already talked about. Defendants had reasons to know of dangerous conditions created by the huge number of festival attendees, which makes sense if you're going to invite thousands and thousands of people somewhere to attend a concert. You're charging each person $100, $200, whatever it costs to get into that festival. You're making a lot of money. So part of that, what you need to take into consideration is, what do we need for security and for safety hazard purposes? Do we need barricades? Do we need security guards every so many feet? Do we need whatever, what have you? So do they have those things in place? And the plaintiffs are saying they did not. They had a second cause of action for premises liability. Defendants had knowledge of crowd surges, especially in the section where the plaintiffs were, and other similar sections in the venue, and failed to maintain the premises in a safe condition. So, that's kind of exactly what it says. So the places that were there, they didn't keep it safe. They didn't have, the proper things in place to keep all the people from being able to be trampled over. And then they had another cause of action, that they're suing for a breach of contract. So they're saying they sold them tickets to the festival, and they worked to implement and execute a security plan to keep everyone attending safe. they had a duty to provide security to prevent violent incidents from taking place, and they breached these duties, and that they failed to take the reasonable steps to prevent the injuries. So they say that the negligence includes, but is not limited to, insufficient security, insufficient training and supervision, insufficient crowd control, insufficient medical provision, and insufficient management and organization. So they're saying that in pretty much every way, they did not have the things that they needed to take care of, to make sure these things didn't happen. And even if, once they happened, they didn't have the medical things in place to try to treat them timely. And then the last cause of action, I think this is the last one, was negligent hiring, training, retention, and supervision. So they're saying that they didn't train the people who they hired to make sure that and they didn't make sure that they had the proper credentials, and they didn't supervise them. Oh, I forgot there was also another cause of action called respondent superior, which is saying that the defendants are responsible for the actions of the people who they hired. So the defendants are the corporations, but they're also responsible for the employees. They can't try to say, oh, well, we didn't do it, those people did it, because, it's their job to make sure that everything is taken care of as the people who are going to benefit the most from the festival. So then prayer for damages is where you tell the court that, what you're seeking for in your judgment for, basically money, healthcare expenses, incidental expenses, loss of income, cost of bringing the suit, and other things. So it's pretty much the same for each cause of action. And it was filed on March 21st by Michael Domingo at the Culver City law firm. So all of the cases that we're seeing like this, there was the other one with Travis Scott last year. Most of them are going to be very similar to that, allegations that they didn't protect the people who they had a duty to protect. So, we'll see what happened. I actually was just looking. I saw the Lovers and Friends Festival is set to happen again soon, and I hope that the people who are going to be at the festival will not, go through anything like that again. So the next story we're going to talk about is another kind of sad story. A mother is suing American Airlines because they didn't have their medical device charged up. So let's kind of go through it a little bit. So she's suing in New York. She was on a flight from Honduras to Miami. This happened last summer. And while traveling back, her son went into cardiac arrest. And then there was a doctor on the flight who actually was there and tried to assist the 14-year-old and asked the flight attendants to bring out the AED, which is a medical device. But the medical device was not charged up, so he could not use the device. The battery was dead, so the young man died on the flight. So now the woman, she hired a lawyer and has filed a lawsuit in a New York court because she believes that if the device would have been charged up, her son could have lived, and it sounds like that is probably the case. So it's very, very sad. 14-year-old lost his life over something that seems very, very preventable, and it's amazing and wild that these companies go on all these flights every day, hundreds and thousands of flights every day, and they don't have like checklists and things in place to make sure that this doesn't happen. But it's just a reminder that we're dealing with, people. So even though these corporations are big and they have policies and procedures, it's the people who have to, make sure that these things actually happen. So, they got lazy on the flight and they did not protect this young man the way that they should have. They did not have the things in place that they should have. And sadly, he lost his life because of that. So I hope that that mother gets justice, that obviously she can't get her son back, but the only thing available to her is monetary compensation for her loss. But whatever she's entitled to, I hope she gets it. In Atlanta, there was a black therapist who was targeted in a Georgia police stop, and it's kind of a story that could have happened to anybody and has happened to a lot of people. But basically, he got targeted for a traffic stop, and it sounds like racial profiling. He has now lost his job because of it, but there is body cam footage, and but essentially they pulled him over. They said that his tent was too dark, I believe, and they pulled him over and they just really harassed him. So let's take a look at this video. So we're going to cue this up. And
personal.
Big bag of drugs.
I hope that you can hear this.
A black school therapist pulled over in a rural Georgia town, accused of having drugs inside his Dodge Charger.
Oh, it's right idea, but wrong black man. You got the wrong one, my boy.
He made a viral video that led to outrage, claiming that it was only pre-workout powder. We got our hands on the full body camera video, why police say there's more to the story. I'm Justin Carter, this is TSR Investigates.
Check out the Shade Room shop. You and all these celebrities' business, but you need to.
Up to it, he says that he forgot to pay a $33.
All right, we're gonna cut this.
Pat for me real quick and I'll explain something to you, alright?
Yes, they found out my license was suspended, which it was, rightfully so. And in the state of Georgia, that's off the top, just an offense to take you in.
Abrams owned up to it. He says that he forgot to pay a $33 license reinstatement fee in his home state of Alabama. He also admits that his tags were expired.
So it was on me. I'm not tripping about that. I paid my dues to that. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying is, you're profiling me.
He was ordered out of the car and handcuffed.
Just misdemeanor. Here in Georgia, we have 4 strikes are out, and the 4th is a felony. So we have to book you in for each of those within 5 years.
They put him in the back of a police cruiser.
He walked to my car and just started searching. So the entire time I'm just watching him, like, what is he doing? Like, what are you looking for?
It's definitely, I just opened this trunk, and I'm just afraid that he might have a load, and I don't want to get shot.
So the young man said he had workout powder in his car.
That's clear as day pre-workout, but that's, that's cool. You see what you see. You see a substance in my car. Do what you gotta do. But
now that pre-workout, it was in like a little baggie?
Yeah, one of these.
He says that it was the Ghost brand of pre-workout powder that comes in bags like this.
He put in like the end of the police report that all these like sexual like things that, he thought was, suspicious.
You could hear the officer on video pointing out his condoms, adult games, and a paddle that he found in his trunk.
Yeah. Says he works out of state.
That black object is actually his Greek paddle. He's in the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity.
We're sorry to hear that.
Found a tripod in my trunk, which I keep in my trunk because also I'm a filmmaker, so I keep equipment in my car. There were condoms all through my car. I'm a grown man, so I can do that.
The Shade Room dug up the criminal arrest warrants. The more serious charges that Abrams faces includes possession of a drug-related object, which is that metal straw with a plastic end that police say is, quote, used for the purpose of inhaling controlled substances. He's also been charged with felony possession of a controlled substance for a green pill that police say was labeled YouTube, containing suspected MDMA. The officer did have a kit and tested it on the spot. I asked Abrams specifically about the pill in question because this is the moment that the officer found it. Abrams told me that he's never seen it before and doesn't know how it got there. He told me he didn't want to blame the officer, but believes it to be suspicious.
My best option, because I'm a first-time offender, should be to take a 3-year probationary plea deal. And I'm just like, I'm not going for that. Because do you see these charges? That's going to be a felony on my record, meaning I won't be able to carry, I won't be able to vote. I wasn't even expecting this to be as,
So yeah, so this is the type of thing that happens a lot. I'm thinking about when I got pulled over in a small Georgia town, similar, got pulled out the car, all of that. So I'm sure so many people can relate to that, and it's the type of situation where the police are trying to get the young man to plea out to something. So every time you get charged, they want you to plea out. So he says he didn't even have the pill, and I mean, if it was, it was one pill. But the point is, why did you pull the man over in the first place? And if the reason why you pulled him over was not legitimate, then there's a good argument that everything that you find as a result should be thrown out. So hopefully this young man has a dope black lawyer in Georgia who he can reach out to, and if he doesn't and he sees this, he can reach out to us and we could get him in connection with a lawyer in Georgia who handles these types of cases and can get that handled for him. So it's already had a effect on his life. He's already lost his job. He's already been subjected to being handcuffed and harassed and embarrassed and all of that. So look, we're not going to just be mad at him because he pledged a whack frat and he's carrying a paddle in his car that they don't even use to haze people. So he's just got decorations, he's got toys and fun, things to have fun. Like, it's really none of our business, but he's got sex toys and he's got whatever kind of kinky fetishes or whatever. It is what it is, but he should not be pulled over for no any type of crime. That officer definitely was harassing him because of where he was at. It's unfortunate for him, but at the end of the day, I think he probably will be okay if he gets him a dope black lawyer, like I suggest most people do. So good luck, young man, with the Alabama State sweater. Terrence Abrams, also representing HBCU. Much love. It's a wild traffic stop, but again, it happens all the time and it's ridiculous. But we're gonna go back to talking about another story that had also some sad implications. Nicole Swinton in LA, she's facing 5 charges for killing people in traffic. They say she was going 130 miles per hour at the time of the impact, and she is saying that she believes she had a seizure and possibly some type of epileptic seizure, and that's what they're trying to say happened, and that's what happened. So there is surveillance video of what happened. It's kind of graphic, so I'm not going to show you exactly what happened, but there are some pictures of what happened, and we could kind of put together just by looking at the pictures what happened. But it was very high impact. That's the result right there. So it's happened in broad daylight. The gas station camera caught it. When you watch the video, just all of a sudden out of nowhere in just like 2 seconds, because the car was going 140 miles an hour, and you just see it make impact with another car. There was a small child, a pregnant woman, and it just caused for them to pass. And she says she had a seizure. They're going to have experts, and they're going to be able to show what the case really is in that situation, and whatever should happen will happen. Either way, it's a sad case. 6 people lost their lives, and this young woman possibly made a decision that is going to impact her for a long time, or she has epilepsy or some type of seizure condition that she's going to need to be treated for. So either way, it's a bad situation for everybody involved. as I alluded to earlier, and it kind of goes to the story we talked about a little bit before with the young man in Georgia who got pulled over. But there's an update with the Tyre Nichols case in Memphis. If you remember, Tyre is the young man who was stopped also by the police in traffic and ended up getting beaten to death by 5 Memphis officers who all lost their jobs and were charged with murder. So a couple of days ago, the Memphis City Council enacted a new law. So it's a Driving Equality Act, and basically it's stating that people cannot get pulled over for these types of traffic stops, like having when they pull you over and say that you had broken brake lights or the tint on your car looked too dark and all that kind of foolish stuff. They passed an ordinance that says that they won't be able to pull people over for that anymore. So during the city council meeting, Rosalind Nichols of the Metropolitan Interfaith Association requested that the ordinance be renamed the Tyre Nichols Driving Equality Ordinance, a proposal that is family backed. And she says that would be the first step towards healing. And they're going to talk about it before they rename it, but it sounds like that's probably something that's going to happen. But the real step for them getting any type of closure or justice will be when these 5 criminals are all locked up. So I mean, it's pretty safe to say we saw what happened. A lot of cities, including Miami, have because what happens is whenever there's a police involved crime like this, what usually happens is the local police do not investigate it, but they'll have, like in Florida, it's called the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, which is like the state version of the FBI. So a lot of states have, like Georgia has the GBI, but Florida calls theirs FDLE. So whatever it is in that state level investigates the local police and make a determination as to whether or not they think there is enough to bring charges against the police, which is very hard because in most places, I'm pretty sure everywhere, police are protected by qualified immunity. So it's very hard to show that their conduct went beyond, that of a police officer and became criminal. So most of the time, those people are not charged. And until recently, even when they were charged, very seldom were they convicted. Now, more recently, with like George Floyd and a few other cases recently, you've seen some convictions starting to happen for some of these things when they're caught on video and it is egregious enough. So beyond that, a lot of cities like Miami-Dade County and the city of Miami both have independent civilian panels who review police misconduct allegations to make recommendations as to what happened. So I'm actually a member of a local ICP here, and I believe they had one in Memphis that also investigated it. But in this situation, the police on their own admitted that this is not police work and that there was misconduct. So anytime you think that you've been mistreated by the police in a way that's serious, you should report it to not only to the police department itself, but find out if your local city has some type of civilian review panel that also can investigate into what's going on with the police. So that's just a little bit more information for you if you didn't know that. A lot of people probably don't know that, but yeah, that's something else that's available to you. So the next story, we talk about this all the time, but I just brought up HBCUs. Hopefully stories like this will help people to decide to go to HBCUs. There was a big movement when Dion was at Jackson State. Hopefully that doesn't die out. But a local Georgia football coach was wilding out. And when I say wilding out, I mean all the way out. He showed his whole ass to everybody. So just to give you a little context, I'm going to show you his Twitter page real quick. so you can see who he works with the most. All right, his name is Mark Taylor, and he is a piece of shit out of Georgia. So you can see right here. Let's make this bigger. I want you to see it. See it. You can see who he works with. Black, about half black. All these black folks. That's him right there with the head coach at Clemson. Black player. All these black folks. Black folks. Black folks at Florida State. So all the big schools, he's at these big schools, and he's working with all these black people, making his bread. Nick Saban with a black player. So those not real people, but black. Got a black boy right here. Black. So he making bread off of black people. And I'm just gonna show you the video because the video is crazy. It's a wild video. He's a wild boy. I'm not even gonna front, and then we could talk about it. Is this the right one?
Bro, look what you got. Look what you got me. $129. Look at that. Nice. Look at that nice jacket. Laid out here on the bed for me. Nice. Columbia. Yeah. Columbia, yeah. Yeah. Look, got the Glock by the bed. Let me go. Room service. I need y'all niggas to bring me some chicken wings, 2 hoes, a red bone and a white girl. Yeah, I want the white girl. Roe gonna try the red bone. No, Borf ain't coming. Yeah, he was here and everything. He make him leave. He make the red bone leave. Yeah, he don't do that and everything. So I tried that one time at the house. Yeah, just Roe. Yeah, cause he probably do it, and he probably gonna throw out we on the 14th floor. He probably throw her out the window when he done with her. Yeah, cheap rate.
I want y'all niggas to send me 2 hoes. A red bone for Ro and a white girl for me. I'm not gonna tell you that. Well, first of all, I don't condone human trafficking, but I'm not gonna tell you that Ro got better taste than him. But I am gonna tell you that he know where to say that at and where not to say that at, because around any of them people who I just showed you in the pictures that he be with, it wouldn't. I'm sure they would have something to say about that. Probably some hands for I don't remember this coach name. He a sucker. What's his name? Mark something. But yeah, he's just riding through town. I want to show you another one. I mean, the dude is a wild boy. I mean, this really is why you gotta watch who you patronize and who you spend your money with. So you giving this man all your money. You think he's gonna help you make it to the league and all of that, but he's really just using you. The black players are the ones with the talent. They could go somewhere and find somebody else who could help them, who was gonna treat them with a lot more respect. And he said he's gonna throw the black girl out the window after you get done using her. How disgusting. And this man is supposed to be a leader of men, training up young men, boys into men. And they say that his ex-wife is leaking the videos from his iCloud. So I mean, if you watch that video, it didn't look like he was really on the phone with room service, but social media is gonna be the death of everybody. So everybody want to say, "Oh man, all these young kids be on the social media doing this and doing that." But I'm telling you, if it would have existed in the 80s, the 90s, the 50s, people would have been on there doing the same thing, people would have been on there, you know, showing their body, because old people are doing that now too. It's not just the young people on Snapchat and all that. These old people out here acting stupid and acting a fool too. Age don't make you wise, and I promise you, you know, buddy know where to say that. So what he was saying he called Atlanta a nigger town. You know what I'm saying? So let's see what the people on Twitter were saying about this, because there were some reactions to it, and it didn't seem to be a surprise to too many people. So, Big Boss. So one of the local coaches in the area that we knew was racist finally got caught being a full-blown racist that we knew he was. Taught and coached a lot of us in middle and high school. Video going viral all over Facebook right now. Good old Mark Taylor, SMH, middle finger emoji. This is Coach Mark Taylor. He is a speed football coach who has coached nothing but black young men in my community. Retweet this. He don't deserve shit he got off our natural abilities. He got to be doing it on purpose. He definitely know what he's doing. And, you know, it was just going on and on. So you know, people already knew who he was. He exposed himself and on video, and it caught up to him. His ex-wife probably caught him with one of them so-called hoes, and said she was going to get some get back for it. So I just want to say F you too, Mark Taylor, and hopefully some of this crime in the community could stop. Obviously, patronizing prostitutes is illegal and also immoral, and hopefully he loses his job, loses his pension, loses, you know, everything he can lose. And, you know, he was talking about the homeless people in the street in Atlanta. Hopefully he could join the ranks. Some people say that's too much, but I don't know if it's enough. So let's go ahead and try to finish this out. Down in Broward County, not too far from where I am in Miami, a young man was arrested for attempted murder and a road rage shooting on I-95. My man was wilding. So around 10:20, he was on I-95, and the victims reported they had been on the highway and were shot multiple times, ended up with a bullet hole in the hood of their car. They said that the man pulled in front of them and started driving slow before a man leaned out the passenger window and shot at them. So just it goes to show you, I've been kind of harping on it because the fool is running for president, so no matter where you're watching this, he has the ability to impact your life. But the crazy ass Florida governor just passed a law saying that you don't need to have any type of permit to have a gun. So stuff like this will probably be more and more normal, and will be happening in higher frequency with people just all over the roads with guns. But it's very dangerous out here. You gotta assume that everybody that you encounter has a gun, because it's so easy to get a gun and that they'll use that gun. So don't even engage with anybody in any type of, you know, incident, because a lot of these people who are cowards become brave when they got that tool on them and they know that you don't have it, or they know that they already got their hand on theirs, and they'll do and say stuff that they won't do in other circumstances. Like Trick said, back in the day, it wasn't enough for a boy to get a straight fade, but don't nobody want to fade no more. They just want to shoot. So be careful out here. So the guy was charged with attempted murder, and they've got witnesses, and he actually admitted to waving the gun, but said he didn't realize it had a bullet in the chamber. So he doesn't even know how to use his weapon properly, and that's the scary part, is how many people are going to be out here using these guns wrong. I was reading in the Louisville mass murder that was done that the shooter first tried to shoot the gun and didn't even realize the safety was on. So, I mean, people out here trying to commit crimes, serious crimes without even really knowing what they're doing. So it's really dangerous to be out here right now. If you think it'll protect you, you should go out and you should get trained on how to use your weapon, so that if you ever are in a situation that calls for it, you won't hurt yourself or hurt anybody that you're not trying to hurt. So if you pull it, you need to pull it on somebody with the intent to protect yourself, but you need to know how to use it safely. So do with that what you may. Couple more stories. I don't know if you all remember, but some years ago, there was a black man who worked for Tesla, and he was awarded $130-something million by a jury because of discrimination in the workplace, and Tesla was aware of it and didn't do anything. So Tesla appealed the $137 million verdict, and they offered to settle for $15 million, which the man, his name is Owen Diaz, he rejected it, brother from California, and he worked in the assembly plant. He turned down the $15 million and decided he would take his chances at trial, which, I just had a jury that said $137 million, so it's probably a good chance that, we'll get $15 million if we go back to trial, or maybe if we don't, it'll be 10, or maybe it'll be 25, maybe it won't be 130 something, but we'll see what happens. Well, the jury awarded him $3.2 million in the retrial. So with $175,000 in damages for emotional distress and $3 million in punitive damages to punish the unlawful conduct and deter it in the future. But, in the factory, it was stated that they frequently used racial slurs and had swastikas and racist caricatures on the walls and in the work areas. The lawyers for Tesla in this incident were able to show, or not really show, but they muddied the testimony. They were trying to prove that the accusations were exaggerated, and that Diaz didn't necessarily go about filing his complaints in the right way. So, not that they necessarily didn't have the money, but Tesla dodged a real bullet there. When I saw this, I was like, oh man, I'll never drive a Tesla. Obviously, everybody at Tesla knew about what was going on. When stuff like that happens, that goes all the way up the ladder. I'm sure everybody knew. And in recent months and years, we've seen how much Elon Musk himself wiles out, and it doesn't seem like the type of person whose business I want to support. So I assume that at all these major corporations that they do things that are racist, but when I see it actually come to light, or any type of bigotry at that, when I see it come to light, I know I'm not going to support it. So I'm not going to tell you what to do with your bread, but if you have $100,000 to spend and you decide to spend it with a company that treats its employees hostilely in a racial way, that's up to you. But that won't be me. And even though the result ended up getting kind of watered down, I do want to highlight J. Bernard Alexander, who was the dope black lawyer who represented Owen Diaz in this case. I mean, he is highly credentialed. He's tried many cases and won many cases, and he's, a great lawyer. I still tip my hat to him. He did the job. He did what he was supposed to do, and the jury just saw it differently in the retrial. But I mean, if you get 137 in the first trial, you're a bad boy. So salute to you, J. Bernard Alexander. Let me put my dog picture up. And when I say my dog, I don't know, bruh, at all. But I want to put his picture up so you can see that dope black lawyer. All right, we got, I think, 2 more stories, and we'll be out of here. So if you're still with us, I appreciate you for sticking with us. Today's episode is a little longer than the last few, but another rapper, I heard about him like I read more about him than I listen to him, but I've heard about this dude YNW Melly, and according to his mother, his double murder trial is underway. They're selecting jurors. It's kind of another story where, and we're going to talk about it a lot because it's happening in Atlanta a lot too, especially with the whole Young Thug YSL trial. But they're using the rapper's lyrics and they're trying to use that as evidence against them. So, you know, this dude is a rapper. He's from somewhere a little bit above Broward, and there was a murder of two of his friends at the time who they have said that he committed, and part of this is based on lyrics from a song that came out after the fact, where and a song he had beforehand called "Murder on My Mind," where he, you know, kind of details like, you know, things that they say are similar to this actual instances what happened in this murder situation. So the young guy, YNW, he's about to be on trial. He's saying that he's the only one in the jail who doesn't have any privileges. He can't use the phone. He doesn't have access to the library, things like that. So whether he, you know, committed the murder or not, hopefully his rights as a prisoner are looked into, and you know, he's able to at least do things that other prisoners are able to do. That's not cool. So we'll follow the story and see what happens with him. And last but not least, we got a story about a blogger I had never heard of until this lawsuit she had against, well, she was sued by Cardi B. So, you know, people go online, and this is something that I try to remain careful with too, making sure that I don't say things about people that are not true, and can be backed with, you know, facts, or can be just solely my opinion. So this woman got on her YouTube channel and she was saying things. I don't remember the exact allegations anymore, but I remember she did say something about Cardi B had herpes and some other crazy stuff about her when she was a stripper, before she was a rapper. And Cardi B sued her a year or so ago. She won $4 million, and she went through the process to garnish this lady's wages. When she tried to garnish her wages and levy her bank accounts, she only had like $1,000 in the bank. So the lady ended up trying to appeal it, the verdict, and she didn't go about it properly, and her case was thrown out. And she says now that she's not going to try to appeal it anymore. She just made the statement that you see on the screen. So Tasha K, I don't know you. I never heard of you until this. I've never watched 1 second of you, but it looks like you learned your lesson. But she said, damn winos, because I guess her thing is unwind with Tasha K. So her community is the winos. We lost the appeal against Cardi B, sad day, but I'm going to be all right. I appreciate all your love and support throughout this fight. Today, we throw in the white flag. What happened will never happen again. To Cardi and her team, I apologize sincere. We live and learn. See y'all Wednesday on YouTube. So I guess she's trying to get a little bit of sympathy from Cardi, because she still owed Cardi them $4 million. And Cardi don't really need her money, but Cardi did what I don't blame her for doing. If you think that people are out here saying crazy things about you just because you're a celebrity and it gives them a little clout, gets their name a little bit of attention, sue their ass. I mean, that's what the system is for. You don't want to be out here with people saying stuff about you, and they wouldn't be, you know, just so they can make money. Because the lady's saying it to make money. She's not just saying it because she wants to hate on Cardi B. You know, I don't think that the most loyal Barb would do that, right? Ain't nobody just getting on there on a platform and making up shit like talking about people got herpes. So if they do, unless it's for clout, right, or to make some type of monetary gain, but if they do, I mean, people need to know that the celebrities will fight back too. So salute to Cardi B for doing that. I'm not gonna say she's like Jackie Robinson or, you know, Rosa Parks or nothing, but I mean, for the celebrities, she kind of set the tone. So good for her. Man, we made it. type still here in the chat if you was here the whole time. I just want to see who's still rocking, who's been rocking with us all this time. I appreciate you. I love you for your support, and I want you to put it in the comments if you have questions or if you have anything that you want to tell us about that we could do to make it better. You can put it in the chat, or you can send us an email to holla@dopeblacklawyer.com, or you can send us an audio message to speakpipe.com/dopebblacklawyer. But those are all the stories that we got today. I look forward to getting back with you, doing this again. Hopefully, once we kind of get this whole process down, we could do it more often, and we could, start highlighting some trials when we have some trials that I think enough people will be interested in keeping up with, and that they're showing either live or replaying, and then we could break down the actual trials. So I think that'll be dope to be able to go through and kind of break down, witness by witness. I remember back in the day when the OJ trial was going on, it was like for those of y'all who are too young to remember, but like it was like every day on CNN, like everybody was just kind of breaking it down. So what does this mean? Oh, now this happened. So you kind of going back and forth like, oh, it looked like this side winning. Oh, now it looked like this side. So for everybody who's interested, we'll be able to kind of talk about it together and, learn about the law and what you'll hopefully learn from other people's mistakes so you don't have to learn the hard way. So remember, if you get hurt or the police pull you over, holla at your boy, the Dope Black Lawyer, Josh Jones, ESQ. Peace.